The, I've sat in this hearing room for 18 years, and I've always looked for, and I think my colleagues, for the most part, have done this as well. I always look for win-win situations. I always look for situations where you can have, we can have the good things for our air, our water, public health, and do so in a way that does not impinge or degrade economic opportunity, economic growth. I've raised in conversations with you, Mr. Wheeler, and here today, 3 instances where I believe we can do good things for our planet, for those of us who live here, and actually provide economic opportunity for American businesses. I've just come like 2 days ago, as I said earlier, with the cross-section of auto companies from all over the world. We talked about the fuel efficiency standards, tailpipe emission standards, and they are pleading for certainty. They have said to me repeatedly, we don't want to spend the next 4 or 5 years in a court battle with California and 13 other states, including Delaware, on what these standards should be. We need certainty, we need predictability, we need near-term relief, and in the out years, we can, with a lot of electric-powered vehicles and hydrogen-powered vehicles, we can strive for and meet much more rigorous standards for CAFE. I'm troubled by something you said to me. I think you said you have talked to the woman who runs CARB out in California, Mary Nichols, 3 times in, I think, 9 months about this. We're talking about the greatest source of carbon emissions on our planet is our mobile sources, our cars, trucks, and vans. California is critical to getting a deal. So are the other 13 states, including Delaware. And the idea that you've spoken with her, whether it's her fault, your fault, 3 times in 3/4 of a year, it's just deeply troubling. And one of the thoughts that keeps coming back to me in this conversation today, this hearing today, is I don't feel a sense of urgency. We do in Delaware. I live in the lowest lying state in the country. Our state is sinking, the oceans are rising. We live here not too far away from a place called Ellicott City. They've had 2 500-year floods in a year. I live in not a very big state, but there are wildfires, you know, bigger than the size of my state in Oregon, in Montana, in Washington, in California, just in the last year. We used to measure rainfall by the inch, now we measure it by the foot. And one of the things I just don't sense here is a sense of urgency to do something about this. We had 13 agencies that came together and said, this is a huge issue and it's getting worse, not better. And they didn't do this because of something that Obama law would compel them to do. I think that was legislation signed by George Herbert Walker Bush many, many years ago. So I'm looking for some passion here. And I just don't feel it. And that's deeply troubling. And also looking for win-wins. And we talked about hydrofluorocarbons and the threat that they pose to our atmosphere, and this American technology that has a follow-on to HFCs. And there's a great interest in being able to adopt a Kigali treaty that actually allows for the phase down of HFCs and the introduction of replacements from American-made companies with American-made technologies. And it's not some wild-eyed, liberal, tree-hugging idea. I mean, this is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. This is the American Chemical Council. There's all these American businesses. And EPA is, rather than being a good partner in helping to expedite this and make it happen, if anything else, I think the agency's an impediment. And the other thing that I would say, I'll never forget, my colleagues have heard me say this before, I beg their indulgence. I'll never forget when Lamar Alexander and I, Senator Alexander and I, were working on a 4P legislation to deal with, you may recall this, to deal with sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, carbon, and mercury. And the issue that we're kind of hung up on was mercury. And the idea, could we actually reduce mercury emissions by as much as 80%? Lamar Alexander said, no, we can reduce it by 90%. We had a hearing right here, and a guy sat right there at the end of the table. Everybody was from a utility at this table and said, oh, we can't even get to 80%, much less 90%. The guy was from the representing the association that said, no, we can do better, they can do 90%. He said, they could do better than that. And you know what? They did. They reached 90% reduction. And if you look at the MATS rule, the reason why the utilities are essentially sanguine about this is they made the investments. It costs a third as much money to make the investments. It's actually working. And not only do we do, I think, a beneficial thing for children, infants, for those that haven't even been born, but we actually do a lot of, not collateral damage, but collateral good things, and reduce other particulate matter and all kinds of stuff to save lives. And to somehow say that that just doesn't add up enough, and in terms of cost-benefit analysis, for us just to say, all right, they got it right. They actually got something right in the Obama administration. And now it's on MATS and all these other folks, all these other stakeholders are for it, but maybe we should be as well. What we're afraid of is you're going to do something, your agency is going to do something that gives someone else, not EPA, but somebody else, the ability to come in and have standing in court and undo MATS, undo the mercury air toxic stand. That's what we're afraid of. That is what we're afraid of. And so those are three instances where I think we can have, I think a lot of us think we can have cleaner air, cleaner water, better public health, more jobs. And why we don't take that ball and run it right down the field, I don't know. I don't know. And that's what frustrates me, and I'm sure it's what frustrates me, others on this panel, and frankly, a lot of people in this audience and might be watching.